Have you ever wondered why some historians argue that Imperial Japan was worse than Germany during World War II? The mid-20th century was a time of immense global turmoil, marked by the cataclysmic conflict known as World War II. This war brought together a cast of key players, among them the infamous Axis powers, Germany and Imperial Japan. These nations, driven by their lust for power and domination, committed unspeakable acts that scarred the annals of history. Imperial Japan in particular has often been the subject of intense debates among historians. Some argue that the severity of Japan's actions during the war outweighed even the horrors perpetrated by Germany. This is a topic that is fraught with controversy, as it involves delving into the dark underbelly of World War II, an era marked by atrocities that send shivers down the spine of humanity. So, why do some claim that Imperial Japan was even more ruthless than Germany? Stay tuned as we delve deeper into the atrocities committed by Imperial Japan during World War II. What were the atrocities committed by Imperial Japan during World War II that made it worse? In our journey through the pages of history, we come across events that shock our very core. One such event was the Nanking Massacre, also known as the Rape of Nanking. In a span of 6 weeks starting from December 1937, Imperial Japanese forces brutally murdered hundreds of thousands of Chinese civilians and disarmed soldiers. This period saw acts of unimaginable cruelty including rape, looting, arson, and widespread mass executions. Imperial Japan was also notorious for its use of forced labor. Millions from Korea, China, and Southeast Asia were coerced into working under brutal conditions. Many were driven to their deaths, succumbing to malnutrition, disease, and sheer exhaustion. The treatment of prisoners of war, or POWs, was equally reprehensible. The Geneva Convention was blatantly disregarded, with POWs facing starvation, torture, and summary execution. Many were used as human guinea pigs for medical experiments or forced into labor. Furthermore, Imperial Japan engaged in biological and chemical warfare, testing deadly diseases on human subjects in an operation known as Unit 731. This clandestine research program resulted in some of the most horrific human rights abuses of the 20th century. The scale and severity of these atrocities were indeed horrifying, but why do some historians argue that they were worse than Germany's actions? So, how do these atrocities compare to the actions of Nazi Germany? Well, when we talk about Nazi Germany, the Holocaust immediately comes to mind. 6 million Jews were systematically exterminated in concentration camps, a genocide of an unprecedented scale. Nazi Germany also committed other war crimes, including the devastation of entire communities and the inhumane treatment of prisoners of war. Now, when comparing these to the actions of Imperial Japan, the scale might seem different. However, the severity and the brutal treatment of victims were strikingly similar. Imperial Japan's war crimes were widespread, from the infamous Nanking Massacre to the forced labor of hundreds of thousands of civilians and prisoners of war. But here's the catch. It's not just about numbers. It's about the horrifying ways these crimes were carried out, the blatant disregard for human life, and the lasting scars left on history. It's clear that both Imperial Japan and Nazi Germany committed horrific atrocities during World War II, but the debate over which was worse is a complex and contentious one. So, what's the final verdict on this historical debate? This conversation isn't about trivializing the horrors committed by either side, but about grasping the full measure of World War II's atrocities. We've delved into the dark actions of Imperial Japan, juxtaposed them with Nazi Germany's deeds, and tried to shine a light on a grim chapter of our shared past. While the debate continues, one thing is clear. Both Imperial Japan and Nazi Germany left a dark and indelible mark on human history.